Okay, hello everybody. This is James Morgan of the Ghost Jazz Trio. This is a second video in a series of videos I've been wanting to make. I've had a lot of comments from people at shows and inbox on Facebook and other online platforms to make videos about things that I have talked about outside of YouTube. So this is the second video. You can find the other one on the channel here. Please subscribe. That way, every week I'm going to be making these videos every Saturday, and they'll be live, and then I'll go ahead and post them. I'm going to check and make sure everything looks good there. I'm going to lower the camera a little bit. I didn't do any pre-production. This is, home recording. Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I've been playing music for about 45 years as a guitar player. Back in the 70s, I used to listen to, most people were listening to Led Zeppelin and Grand Funk Railroad and the Rolling Stones. I did listen to them too, but I was really into Chick Corea, Return to Forever, John McLaughlin's Mahavishnu Orchestra, and Weather Report to some degree, Larry Coryell. And anyway, in my late teens, I started taking lessons from Bill Connors, who was the guitar player on the first real electric Return to Forever album called Hymn to the Seventh Galaxy, which even to this day is my favorite Chick Corea Return to Forever album. The music on there was raw. It was groundbreaking. It wasn't formulated. It did reach the point where it started getting formulated and formatted to more commercial sounding. Anyway, I used to drive from Santa Cruz, where I lived. I drive up to Half Moon Bay, where he lived. And just to give you a little background story, I actually, I'm going to adjust the camera a little bit more and check, make sure it's how it's looking here. Let me check here real quick. Yeah, that's better. A little better. There we go. Okay, so so one day I was up in Berkeley and I went to saw a record store called Leopold's Records. Very popular. I was up in Berkeley. I lived in Santa Cruz. We had to go there, buy some jazz albums. So in the back was the jazz category albums. So when you had to push a separate door open because they separated so that jazz music would be playing in that music room, and then in the front was all the rock albums. Much bigger room, obviously. So when I pushed the door open, the wind from the door pushed a piece of paper up, and I saw a little index card on the wall, and I thought I saw the name Bill Connors. So I looked, Bill Connors, took the card off the wall and took it home. A couple of days later, I decided to call that number. I did call it, but he was no longer at that number. So I asked if there's any forwarding number, and they said the only number they had was his parents' number in Los Angeles. So I said, yeah, I'll take that. So I got the number, and again, these videos I'm going to be making are about how to market yourself in today's market and just get yourself branded as an artist and get your music out there. And I was even doing it back then, because what I did with that number is I called up his parents' number, Mr. Connors, and had answered, and I basically pretended I was a manager, somebody higher up on the food chain in the music industry, and I needed to get a hold of Bill. I didn't want to just say, hey, I'm a fan, I want to take lessons, can you give my number? Didn't think that would do anything. So I left my number, message that I needed to talk to him. So about 3 weeks later, I hear the phone ring downstairs. I'm living with my mother at the time, and I'm upstairs practicing. And all of a sudden I hear my mom yell upstairs, James, BC's on the phone. And I'm like, BC? I don't know, BC. So I go, okay. So back in those days, we had a phone. So I picked up the phone. I'm at the top of the stairs. I go, hello, this is James. Hi, this is Bill Connors. And my breath, oxygen left my lungs. I was like hyperventilating almost. Sat down on the top of the stairs and I said, hi, yeah, this is James. He goes, did you call my parents saying you were a manager or something? You want to? I said, yeah, I just wanted to get in touch with you because I want to take lessons from you. So in order to assure that I got in touch with you, I came up with that story. He goes, well, that's the way to do it. That's great because I'm calling you. I said, great. I really like to take lessons. You're an amazing guitar player. I've listened to all your music on the Hymn to the Seventh Galaxy album. And he said, well, I'm living in Half Moon Bay and you're welcome to come up. So I said, great. So I scheduled time to go up. I went up later that week and asked him what kind of pay he wanted. And basically he said, pay him in pot. So, okay, I can do that. So drove up, actually went up with a friend of mine who was also around my age who liked him. And I went in and took a lesson, and then he waited outside, and then he went in while I waited. So when I went up there, I was wearing all white shirt, pants, and I had my white Les Paul because I was really into John McLaughlin, Mahavishnu Orchestra. And when I walked in, he just kind of looked at me and said, okay, next time you come up, just wear jeans. I don't need any McLaughlin clones up here. So it was kind of interesting. Anyway, when I went up there, he just lived in this small room, about 100 by 100, maybe 50 square feet. And he had a little cot. He had a chair with a footstool, a picture of Segovia on the wall. He had a classical guitar and sheet music in front of him. And that was where he basically practiced and slept. And the rest of the house was a kitchen. And his routine was basically he'd get up at 5, eat breakfast, or practice, eat breakfast around 8, go back and practice till about noon, eat lunch, go back and practice till about 5, eat dinner, and go back and practice and go to bed. And that's basically what it takes to get to the level of playing he is. So I took lessons from him, and basically he asked me if I knew how to read. I didn't know how to read then. I still really don't read fluently now. And he said, good. He said, I want to learn where you're coming from as a musician. I'm going to teach you technique. And he said, if you want to be a side musician, learn how to read music and learn the standard jazz tunes, because then you can just go in and learn. But if you want to be have your own sound and be the band leader and your own person, he goes, just do what you're doing. I said, okay. So I took lessons with him, and we eventually became friends and took him down to Carmel at one point. We stayed at my brother's house, went to the classical guitar festival. He was really into Jim Beam at the time, Bream, who was classical guitars, and Bream, who was very popular back then. And we drove down in his little Volkswagen, and he cooked us dinner, chicken cacciatore, and told us stories about, his music experiences. And we went to all 3 days of the classical festival. So anyway, that's a little background on that. I went on for time after that, a few decades, just to kind of play fusion. I really liked fusion music and kind of stuck with that through the following decades. I'm going to bring you up a little closer now. 2013, I started a band called Dialogue Project, which was basically a fusion rock band. Came out with a couple albums, The Artistry of Jazz Fusion, which you can find online, and another album called Listen Up. One of the albums was nominated in 2013 for the Best Jazz Album of the Year by the San Diego Music Awards. It just so happened that year I also opened for Alan Holdsworth at Brick by Brick. By chance, he had heard the video while he was on the phone booking the Brick by Brick with Max, who was the owner, and said, who's that in the background? Said it was a local band, Dialogue Project. And he said, I'd love to have those guys open for me. I don't usually have bands open, but I like their sound. So ended up open for him on Friday the 13th in 2013. And then from there, played with that band for a while, did a lot of shows at fairs and things, did about 40 shows one year, which is great out of 52 weeks. And all self-promoting, self-booking, no record company. So then around 2017, I decided I wanted to get out of the loud, heavy fusion, prog rock kind of music because I morphed into one where I actually had a vocalist. Decided to start a band and called it the Ghost Jazz Trio. Came up with the Ghost Jazz Trio from the idea of ghost notes that drummers have, and also musicians. All musicians really have ghost notes in their heads, and notes are basically out there. They're not tangible, they're intangible. And to me, if you take those notes and bring them in through your instruments, you're bringing them into this physical world from more of an ethereal, ether, ghost type a level of frequency of music. So that's how I came up with the name. And so the Ghost Jazz Trio, the first inception was basically just a jam band. We would just play. Our credo was no charts, no rehearsals, no net. And we would just go and play, and people would pay us to play at venues and restaurants and private events. So at one point I wanted to start writing songs because I like writing music, and I am a good songwriter. So and again, you have to recognize what you're good at. Never consider myself the best guitar player in the world, the best composer, or best performer, but what I do works. People seem to like it, so I keep doing it. So anyway, 2017 went on to 2018. I decided to write songs, which I did. Found some good musicians. Decided to record an album. The first album, after doing lots of shows for a few years, in 2020 during the pandemic, recorded Invisible Time, which had 7 songs. You can find it online. It was recorded at Pacific Beach Studio in San Diego by Alan Sanderson, who's a Grammy-winning sound engineer and recording engineer who's worked with Elton John and Michael Jackson, Rolling Stones. Great guy. And that album, I decided to market it. So I teamed up with the marketing team at smoothjazz.com Global Radio. Great radio station. Sandy Shore is the founder. And so they became my marketing partner. And my first single released, debuted on the top 100 and remained there for about 3 months. So then the next year I recorded an album called On the Level. At this point, I decided to get somebody who was in the business, hopefully to feature on my new album. And that person was Patrick Yondahl, who had 25 plus albums to his name, lots of recordings. He's a prolific composer, does everything from home, plays drums, keyboards, bass, all the instruments on a lot of his albums. Great guy, great musician. So then that debuted also on the top 100, and for the next 3 months remained there. And that album was also nominated for Best Jazz Album of the Year, just like the 2020 Invisible Time album. Bringing it up to present day, I just released my new album called Dreams Above. And Dreams Above is basically 10 songs and features myself, Nathan Brown on bass. Nathan Brown played on my last album, On the Level. He's played with Bob James, Earl Klug, number of other notable musicians. And then Jack Nathan on drums. He's been on all 3 albums. He's a band leader of his own band called the Jack Attack, and just a great in the pocket drummer. Great. He's a workhorse. That's what I call him. He just knows how to go in and play to the song. And then the concept of this album was to combine some strings, which I got some violin and cello and orchestrated and kind of conducted them to play to certain songs after the songs were done, and combine that to get that smooth jazz sound with that. So that album's out, and it was out in April 2022. I already have a single out called Sun Tides, which debuted in March. And I have a new single that's debuting later this month in July called Lightness. It'll have more strings on it. It's a very cool song. And I actually plan to video document the release of the single, to kind of show people how the single is released, how you contact radio programmers and all these kinds of things, which brings me to this video. So the last video I talked about was really, you could go and watch it. It's on the channel. Was really about the industry and how to kind of get out there. And what I want to talk about today is really how you have to kind of have the mindset to look at yourself as a brand, not just as a musician, guitar player, whatever instrument you play. So what I did in a short period of time, the reason I've had such good success in a short, 3 years really, is how I market myself. I'm not mainstream, straight ahead jazz. So those listeners and fans and the community around me here in San Diego hasn't really, caught on to my music. They really aren't into that style. So I haven't been accepted really as that, into that genre. So the genre I've found that's the most compatible and most welcoming, it seems like, is the smooth jazz, contemporary jazz market. And this market is really about, the demographics are kind of a lot of African American, then also upper income in the Caucasian market, wine drinking, semi-retired, retired, like to go to festival type market. They want to watch the sunset. They want some cool jazz in the background to relax to, have conversation, dinner, being romantic, whatever it is. They want that cool, sexy sax or guitar or song playing in the background. And it's a great genre to get into. The one thing I really like about the genre is that they really are open to featuring bass players. There's a lot of bass players that have their own albums on there, and it's great to see a music genre and market that welcomes that. And really kind of the format for this kind of music is not a lot of bridges or changes, but just long grooves with some nice sexy sax, guitar, and that kind of thing. My music, I think the reason I've stood out is because I do add bridges. I like the tension and the release of bridges to music. So I do incorporate that. And then each album I've kind of less bridges, you might say. So that's the demographic. And knowing that market and appealing to it has really worked for me, because I've taken that market and the accolades that I've gotten from recording and being nominated and going up the charts and being able to use those accolades. I use that on booking sites. So what you want to do is, when you market yourself, you want to find the genre that you're going to fit in, and you want to market yourself towards that fan base, and that demographic is really my point to all this. So if you play rock or pop or rap or folk or blues, obviously those listeners are going to be the ones that appeal to your particular genre. You're not going to be a jazz musician and get your song on a rock station. It's never going to happen. And you don't want to appeal to those fans. So again, find your fan base, find the demographics, and then start marketing online, Instagram, Twitter, obviously, YouTube, and radio stations. So in recording the music that you record, you want to kind of appeal to that, which is fine. Now, personally, for my genre, the smooth jazz market, I've told you the demographics, but there's also a great outlet in getting work, which is in the corporate events and weddings and private parties. People events that just don't want the music to be the focus of the event, but want it to be the background where people can relax, mingle, eat dinner, whatever, and the music's in the background, nice, cool, laid back, what we call West Coast groove vibe music in the background. That's what the product that I offer. So I get a lot of private event, corporate event bookings, and they have the money to spend. Whereas if you go to weddings, they're on a budget. They have a lot of other aspects they're trying to organize. So they and contribute to the weddings. So they may have a DJ and a harpsichord player, a harp player at the beginning, and a classical trio, and they have food caterers and DJs again, and all that stuff. They have to maybe rent a venue. So they have all these other elements, whereas corporate is a little easier. They just find a venue. They may have someone, the venue that they do it at catered, and then they have the music, which is us. So I really recommend, corporate events are great, and they pay well. Again, they have more money to spend, so they always pay more. And I have no problem booking them. In fact, I have to turn down some because I get booked up and I don't have room, which is a good problem to have. So for my genre, it's great for corporate events. So what you want to do is you want to find out how you can market yourself to get performance work. Playing clubs is great. People think they want to play clubs and festivals, but you really don't make money from those places. And then you have to realize they're going to hire a rock band if they want, for people that are dancing. So they'll buy drinks and that kind of thing. So that's the market you want. So you have to find your market and then again, direct your music and your marketing towards that. So I'm just going to be talking about marketing for my genre. And that way I can kind of take you along in real time. Actually, when I release my next single later this month, I'm going to document it being released, how I contact all the reporting stations and what reporting stations are and all that stuff. So again, what you want to do is you want to create a nice big footprint online. So for instance, for the Ghost Jazz Trio on Instagram, we have about 2,000 followers. So built up that base. You have to put out content every day, announcing a show or, whatever's going on with the single, your band, that kind of thing. Keeps people engaged. And then you have Twitter, again, about 2,000 followers. And then a YouTube channel, which is great. I have over 1,000 views, so I was able to monetize it. So you make some money there. You post your live performances. I do. And then upcoming shows. And then what I do is I post a YouTube video about an upcoming show and put it on social media. So they have to click on that. They click on that. They go to YouTube. That's another view, maybe a new subscriber. And you're letting them know about a show. Plus, maybe get a new subscriber. They see this video and other videos, listen to music on there, YouTube. So you want to kind of always combine all the different social media platforms. And that's what I do. So for instance, I had a show Memorial Day. I posted a video with some music playing, and then it kind of opens up and shows the musicians there with the text saying the location, the time, and people see that. And then what I also do, even if it's a free event that I'm performing at a public event, I'll go to Eventbrite and I'll post a video there, a picture, the time, and people can get a free general admission ticket or a paid ticket if it's for a venue, for a paid one. So a paid show. So that's how I do that. Basically, you want to market all of your events, not the private ones, but the public ones. You want to have a website. So you have a nice website. It's easy to read and scroll, impactful with nice, beautiful, professional looking pictures, description of what you're offering. If you're offering anything, mine says we do corporate events and weddings. I want work for the band, so that's how I do it. It's not just, hey, this is a Ghost Jazz Trio, buy our albums. I offer a service, a product for people to hire us. And they can scroll down. They can go ahead and see the schedule. They can see all the accolades, videos, listen to the music, see reviews. I actually link in reviews from other sites. You can use online sites to book to get work. I use Gig Salad. Gig Salad is a great site. You can link them into your website. Then you have also you need an EPK, electronic press kit, which I also have, and I can hook those on emails if I'm emailing someone to get a show, to solicit a show. If I say I'm looking to add more shows to my calendar, if you think a good jazz trio would be a good fit, please contact me. They have the contact information for rates and see what they pay and negotiate with them. So you have that, you have the EPK, you have YouTube, you have your website, you have Instagram, you have Twitter. All these things are important because what you're doing is you're creating a footprint online. So when someone is searching the web, say to hire a band, in my case, a jazz band, I know for a fact that 89% of all the Google searches are for jazz band, not jazz trio, not ghost jazz trio, not wedding band. Wedding band could be a band on your finger, could be confusing. So I put on my websites jazz band, ghost jazz trio, because the first thing they type in is jazz band. So when Google is spidering the web, searching for the words they typed in, which are the keywords called jazz band, Ghost Jazz Trio is most likely going to show up, especially in the San Diego area. Now, if you type in jazz band in San Diego, Ghost Jazz Trio fills up the first 2 pages of Google, which is great. That's what I want. So because I have so much content, the more content you have, I have over 600 videos on YouTube. I'm always posting on Instagram and Twitter and this and that and the other. So that's why when Google's spidering the web, Ghost Jazz Trio pops up. And then there's a Google business page too that's on there. So there's an old saying, not that old, but a saying that if you want to hide a dead body, hide it on the second page of Google, because no one looks on the second page. So you want to be on the first page, and you want to get there organically. You don't want to hire agencies or ways to get there. Maybe an SEO manager might help just to kind of clean up your website to get more, get you on that closer to the first page. So that's kind of how I do it. So when people search and then they see all the website, they'll go to the main website. They can contact me. My email's located to it. They can ask for a quote. It says ask for a free quote. I have hiring policies, which I'll get into later. But really, that's how you want to find work. You want to basically create that large footprint online. You want to get as much content on all the aspects I've mentioned. And that way, when people are searching, you're more likely to pop up. I get a lot of work that other musicians don't because it's a band. Now, there's a lot of, like in San Diego, there's a lot of jazz musicians. Everyone knows their name. I won't say them, but a lot of people know who they are, but they're not bands. So what they do, people don't type in their names. So I get more work than they do because no one's typing in that jazz musician's name. They have to hire some people to play with, or they play with other musicians that go by names. So that's kind of how it works. So the reason I've kind of superseded all these other jazz musicians in my area getting much more work than they do is because I market myself as a band. And having a band is what people look for. If they are looking for a solo artist, they could type in solo artist for wedding or event. I'm sure a lot of people are going to show up, but most people want a band. Again, jazz band, Ghost Jazz Trio, not James Morgan, not anyone else's name in the band. No one's typing that in. It's common sense. So a lot of musicians say, wow, I've been playing jazz in this area for 20 years. I don't do a fraction of the shows that you do. I see you online all the time, new shows, because of the way I market myself. And that's what these videos are going to be about. I'm going to talk about how to market yourself. Now, if you have any questions, you can go to the comment section, either live, you can do it now, and I'll answer them later after I do the video. Or if you see the video, just go ahead and post your question. I'd be happy. If I know the answer, I'm going to give it to you. And the reason I'm doing these videos is because the market has changed. Again, back in the day, you could shop your tapes to record companies, labels, and all these other things. Nowadays, there's maybe one label, two smaller labels that are only have a specific genre or artist that they're interested in. Now, for my personal marketing in the smooth jazz, contemporary jazz genre, there's only 80 reporting stations. Okay, so when I release my single later this month, there's going to be through my marketing partner, smoothjazz.com Global Radio, they're going to release my single and send it to all the stations, not just the reporting stations, but all stations on their list. And there could be 150 of them. So out of those 150, they'll release, say, on a Wednesday. Then those people get the email. They'll have a metadated song that they can click on, and it's all metadata, which means it's got the IRC number, the which is great to have because that's how you get your royalties and other things. It's basically like a UPC number, which you can also do through DistroKid and also CD Baby. So once you put your songs on CD Baby or DistroKid, back up a little bit, you get all the songs listed, you fill out all the information. Now you're there, you're ready, you register it with BMI or whatever register you want to, Sound Exchange, all these different online entities so that you're monetized. So every time your song streams or plays, you make some money. And that's how you do it. So when my song comes out, it releases through the email, then that next week or the week after on the charts, I'll see if I'm on the charts or who's added me to their stations. Then I'm going to go ahead and contact those stations because I have their contact information with my marketing partner. And if they've added me for spins and rotation, I'm going to thank them and send them an email. Thank you for adding my song. If you could increase the spins, that would be great. If they haven't added it, I'm going to send out 100 or so emails if I need to. And I'm going to ask them to add me to their rotation for spins. And I do that every week. The charts come out every Monday. So I look and see where I am on the charts. And the way you move up the charts is by how many spins you get, not how many stations you're added to. I can be on 15 stations only, and I'm getting more spins. I'm at number 50 on the top 100 because they're spinning me 15 to 25 times a week. But because you're on one week doesn't mean you'll be on the next week, because sometimes these jazz stations or programs only have 3 or 4 hours a week. They're not a terrestrial 24-hour station. So they may have to take me off one week and add me the next week because they have to allow other people to come on, especially brand names. Now, being an independent artist, an indie artist, I don't have a record company, out there working for me and pushing all that. They do a lot of these brand names. That's why you always see the same people in the top 100 or top 10 even, because they have corporate behind them. I don't. So that's why it's important to know how to market yourself so you can at least create a level playing field for yourself. No one's going to create it for you. Now, me partnering with smoothjazz.com has helped me get that level playing field. It's worth the investment. I pay them a fee, and it's worth the fee for me to get my music out there. Because once I do the legwork behind their initial marketing, I'm the one that has to do the follow-up. And the more follow-up I do, I'm building up my own business. So at some point, I may not even be partnering them with them anymore. I may become a brand where I don't need to. So that's really where I'm at with my music and how I've come to this point so fast. So I just wanted to give you a brief background of myself and my band Ghost Jazz Trio. And please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube, um, and, uh, and check out the website. And purchase the music if you like it. Add it to your Spotify playlist, your Pandora, whatever your favorite playlist is. Or you can even ask Siri or Alexa, could you please play the Ghost Jazz Trio? And our songs will come up. So right there, I'm marketing myself. And that's what you do. You have to constantly be selling yourself, but not selling. You're really just letting people know you're there. And if people like the music, they're going to listen to it. And so in future videos, I'm going to be talking, about some certain topics, AR people, how to contact them, what their role is. And I'll also be talking about, contracts, with labels, record companies. Everybody says they want to get with a record company, but to be honest with you, these days it's almost better to be an indie artist. Artists that I know that are even, high up in the charts, one that was in #1 position for almost all of 2020 and 21, he, has to put out a certain amount of songs. I think he put out 12 songs and they said, okay, well, we're coming out with the album in a week. We need 3 more songs. So he had to scramble and come with 3 more songs. I know artists that have been playing for decades. They're with labels for decades, and they don't even get to get their own music on there. The music is given to them. They get other music composed by other composers, and that musician who's touring and has hundreds of thousands of followers, maybe even millions, doesn't write his own material, doesn't get to play on his own records, rhythm, but goes into solos, a couple solos, and that's it. So you really lose a lot of control. Plus, they get 50% or more of the music money. So I would start out being an indie artist, market yourself, see what you can do on your own. If you become a viable, monetized brand, they're going to come knocking at your door, and you can negotiate better terms with them. So that's what that's about. And I'm going to be talking about, opening for other marquee acts. We may be opening for Larry Carlton in October. A lot of times you have to pay to open, that kind of thing. I'm going to be talking about, real as opposed to fake managers and people that are going to offer you their services. There's a lot of online services you have to be aware of. So I know all that stuff. I've been through it all already. So I'm going to help you dodge all that stuff. So again, I recommend you watch these videos. I just want to create this video, give you a background of what I'm about, where I've gone so far, what I've done. So the next video I'm going to talk about next week will be kind of how to market yourself in more detail. What sites to go to, with your songs, and things like that. And what's the good length of a song for radio play, the ideal length, sweet spot that their DJs are looking for, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to get into more detail. A&R people, how to find people, if you're going to find a manager, what you need to be looking for, and somebody's going to manage you, that kind of thing. Are they going to charge you fees up front? Well, if they're legitimate, why don't they just do what they're going to do and pay you on the back end, that kind of thing. There's a lot of common sense things that you need to know before you start putting your music out there. Or if you already are and you just found you've hit a brick wall and it's really not moving anywhere, I'm going to help you get it there. And it's going to take some time out of my weekend, every weekend, to kind of give you some pointers. You can take it or leave it. That's fine. Let me know if you like the videos, if you think they're helpful. And if you have any comments, questions, please, I'm here for you. I'm a resource. Again, hope you enjoy the Ghost Jazz Trio music. Listen to it. Buy the digital albums at ghostjazztrioband.com, the ghostjazztrioband.com, in the Ghost store. And I'm going to show you how to create in some of the new videos a logo for yourself, how you market yourself, and the demographic, how to find the demographic that you want, how to put the right keywords in when you're creating your websites and all your social media. There's so much. It takes a long time. It's a full-time job, really, and it is for me. So again, I hope this video was helpful. I just wanted to give you a background and where I am today. I'm not really just here to kind of talk about myself, but as a brand, as a musician trying to get my music out there and getting my music out there. All right, so it's been great talking to everybody, and I look forward to doing another video next week, next Saturday, and talk to you then. All right, great. Thank you.